Hello Booktube, it is Samantha and today is December 1st, which means it's the first day of Vlogmas. So I am quite excited to be doing this. You guys will be seeing my face quite a bit this month as I attempt to upload a video pretty much every single day. No, not pretty much, really every single day. So I hope you guys will be enjoying the videos that I have filmed for you guys because almost all of them are pre-filmed because it's going to be a busy month and I want to enjoy uploading videos for you guys but also enjoy time with my family this holiday season. So yes, I hope you guys will enjoy them. So for today, as it is December 1st, I am going to be doing for my first Vlogmas video my November wrap-up and December TBR. So let us get started. I will now tell you guys what I read in November. In November, I read a total of 4 novels, 2 short stories, 2 novellas, and 2 essays, I guess you would consider them to be. Yes, and part of another book that I didn't finish because I made the mistake this month of deciding to start like 5 books at once, which I always forget does not actually make me read faster, it makes me read slower, so oops. But I'll now show you guys what books I did finish in November. The first book that I finished in November was The Acts of King Arthur and His Noble Knights by the wonderful John Steinbeck. I finished this novel at the beginning of the month. I started out the month with it already being about halfway read. This book is basically what it says. It is a telling of the King Arthur legends as put down by Sir Thomas Malory. I did not enjoy this book as much as I had anticipated. I thought it was going to be more of a retelling told from John Steinbeck's imagination. That was not quite what happened. It was more of a translation of Sir Thomas Malory's work into a modern language, definitely with some twists that Steinbeck added for his own. But I appreciated it for its history. I love King Arthur's stories no matter the format, but overall I found the book a little bit hard to get through. Not because it was difficult to read, but because it was a little bit dull. So overall I gave this book 2 stars, and I do have a full review and discussion on this book, which I will link in the box down below if you guys want to go and check it out. The next book that I finished in November was The Book of 3 by Lloyd Alexander. I read this part of the 24 and 48 readathon, which was really the only book I was able to successfully complete and start. This book is part of the Chronicles of Prydain book series by Lloyd Alexander, which includes the Black Cauldron, in case you're familiar with the Disney movie, though, spoiler alert, is completely different from the Disney movie. I read these books a long time ago. I think I was 13 or 14 when I first read them. They are a classic fantasy series. In fact, The Book of 3 this year is its 50th anniversary, and there's a really cool 50th anniversary edition of this book out in the book realms. And yeah, I wanted to reread it because it's been way too long. I have the box set of all 5 books, and so I decided I was hoping to read all of the books this month. It didn't quite happen, but I did get the first one read. And it is just as good as I remember it being. It remains at its 4-star rating that I had originally given it on Goodreads. I really, really enjoyed this book. It is a classic fantasy series. It is orphaned hero stories. You have the orphaned hero who ends up going on a quest, kind of discovering himself, a little bit more about himself, growing as this realm fights against a sort of evil overlord, though not really overlord. I think he's kind of in hiding, but anyway, it's a really, really good series. It's really fast paced. It is middle grade, so it's an easy book to read. So check it out if you're looking to read some more classic fantasy. So the next book that I finished in November is probably one of my favorite books that I have read this year, let alone this month, and that is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I love this book so much! It was just really, really good, guys. I thought that The Pickwick Papers was going to be my favorite Charles Dickens book. Nay, I say. It is now Great Expectations. This book was so good. It follows the young orphan Pip, who is being raised or brought up by hand, as is often referenced in the book, by his kind of mean sister, I guess, and her blacksmith husband Joe, who he has a really good relationship with. Pip is coming into some money, therefore some great expectations are made for him. Unfortunately, things don't go quite the way that Pip has planned. Some things linked to his past that have come to light when he is older, some very mysterious things that occurred when he was young. I don't want to give too much away because I went into this book relatively blind, and I think that's the way you should go into it. But it is excellent. This book actually has a lot of humor in it, which I appreciated. Has a lot of mystery, a lot of intrigue, some creepiness. Not really ghost stuff, but there's definitely some creepy elements to the story that I really, really liked. And I really loved the mystery elements and the romance and the ending, guys. The ending was perfect. Oh my god, I loved the ending so so much. This book is so good. So if you're looking for some more Charles Dickens, I highly recommend Great Expectations because it was excellent and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The last novel that I finished in November was a reread with Sabrina from Steakachino, and that is Inda by Sherwood Smith. If you guys are frequent to my channel, you will know that I absolutely adore this book, but it's been about 4 or 5 years since I read it, and I had forgotten just how much I love this book until I reread it. It remains at its 5 out of 5 star rating for me. I absolutely adore this book. It is everything you could want in a fantasy series. It is full of political intrigue. It is full of a young boy kind of coming to age, but not in the way that you would expect, I guess. I love the female characters in this book. I think that there is a really interesting female element to this book, the way that she describes them and what is going on in the culture that they live in. I forgot how much this certain twist in this book made me feel. It just, when you get to the end of part 1, all I'm going to say, because I don't want to spoil it, is it just makes you go, That's the only thing I can use to describe it by. It's just, it makes you feel so frustrated, but it is so good. Oh, and this book has pirates, guys. There's a lot of ship-faring stuff going on in the second half of this book and throughout the rest, and there are indeed pirates. This book series is amazing. Sherwood Smith is a fantastic author. She was developing this world and these characters since she was a small child, and I believe she's in her 60s now, so this world is definitely very well fleshed out. There were a couple things I forgot that were a little bit confusing. One would be the names. There is a lot of, there's world building going on, which that isn't too bad, but it's a lot of the names are very foreign because she's made them up, and it can get a little bit confusing at times because they seem a little bit similar. But once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad, particularly since everybody has nicknames as well. Also, sometimes when she is writing, since this isn't told in third person, it is a little bit confusing to tell when she is shifting from one person's perspective to another. So I do find that a little bit confusing, but it doesn't really deter from my overall enjoyment of the book, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it, guys. And it is actually the book that I'm nominating for Book Hunter's Book of the Month. So I will link that Goodreads group down below so you guys can go and vote, and hopefully you will vote for this book because it is excellent. Yes, it is. Now on to the short stories, novellas, essays type things that I finished in November. The first one I finished was Patrick Roth's Fist, A Slow Regard of Silent Things. I really enjoyed this book. I was a little bit I had to think for a while about how I really felt about this book. It's not like the Kingkiller Chronicles, though it does feature Ori, who is from the Kingkiller Chronicles. But it's not your typical story. Nothing really happens. But at the same time, I still liked it, and I was having a hard time figuring out exactly how I felt about the book and what I wanted to rate it until I read Patrick Roth's Fist afterward. And he kind of explains how he was a little bit hesitant about publishing the book because he was actually a little bit hesitant about publishing it because of the lack of an actual plot. But it's really a heartfelt story. I mean, you really connect to Ori, and you really get to see things from her perspective that you don't get to see in the Kingkiller Chronicles books, The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. And I have to say, I've never become so attached to inanimate objects than I have after reading this book. And if you've read it, you will know exactly what I mean. Overall, I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. Now, another short story that I read was part of my Charles Dickens, Dickens Christmas read-along, which I'll also link the Goodreads group and video for that down below. If you guys can still come and join us. There's still 3 more weeks and 3 more stories we'll be reading. But the first story that we read for it was The Goblin Who Stole a Sexton. I really enjoyed this story. It was just another one of his Christmas stories that kind of shows how our hardships, in fact, kind of teach us to be a little bit more compassionate, and they make us who we are, and it helps you to appreciate these small and beautiful things in life. I really enjoyed that short story, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next one that I read was The Haunted Man. I did not like this one as much. It was definitely a little bit of a slog for me to get through. I generally like Dickens stuff, but it just didn't capture my attention like the rest have. I believe the story itself was trying to just show how we as people need our hardships to kind of make us a well-rounded person. Without our hardships, we do not have compassion or empathy for other human beings. But I still gave the story 2 out of 5 stars. It was actually a novella because it was about 130 pages. It was definitely my least favorite of Charles Dickens' Christmas stories that I have read. Also out of this book, but not part of my very Dickens Christmas read-along, I read The 7 Poor Travelers. The story was about a man who decides to treat 7 poor travelers, basically homeless people who are trekking about, to a Christmas dinner and good company. And it was just a very kind of heartwarming, good-natured, showing goodwill towards men at Christmas time story. The other two things that I read out of this book were the two essays I read for the month. The first one was Christmas festivities, and I really enjoyed it because it wasn't your typical essay. He kind of narrated it sort of like it was a story, kind of following this one family and what Christmas is like in England and how it's about good company and good food. And the way he describes Christmas is just done in such a rich way that I truly, truly love. And Dickens, you're fantastic. The other little short story I read is What Christmas Is As We Got Older, another one of his essays, and this one was also quite good. It kind of shows how we shouldn't lose our Christmas spirit and love and just the magic that we experience as we're children, but you can indeed carry it into adulthood, and it just takes on new forms. I really enjoyed it. Dickens continues to impress me. Now, the book that I started in November but did not finish was The Once and Future King by T.H. White. I just kind of got distracted by other books. I shouldn't have started as many books as I did. If I hadn't, I probably would have finished this. I was reading this as part of the Booktube Buddies read-along group, and I was hoping to finish it, but I didn't. I will be finishing it in December. So far, I'm enjoying it. It's a little bit slower and not quite as good as I was anticipating, but I'm still in the first book. I'm only 100 pages in. So I will definitely be finishing this. So those were the wonderful books that I read in November. I will now tell you guys some of the things I'll be reading for December. So first off, we still have 3 more short stories to read by Charles Dickens for Christmas, my very Dickens Christmas read-along. Of these 3, I have actually already read these, but I'm looking forward to rereading them because it has been a while. The first one is The Chimes, the second one is A Cricket on the Hearth, and the last we're finishing up with A Christmas Carol. I'm looking forward to rereading these and just experiencing them all over again. The next 2 books that I will be reading in December are The Home for Christmas, Stories for Young and Old, and the My True Love Gave to Me. I will be reading 1 story a day from each of these leading up until Christmas. There's about 20 in here, 12 in here, though I already have read one, so I'll probably read 1 each a day or what have you until I get to Christmas. So by Christmas, I should have both of these books read. The next book that I will hoping to be picking up in December is The Assassin's Apprentice. I'll be buddy reading this with Lindsay from Lindsay Ray and Sarah from Books and Junk. I've been wanting to read this story by Robin Hobb, this series, for a very long time, so I'm looking forward to it. I actually have a cool edition coming from the Book Depository because I didn't really much care for the American Mass Market paperback edition, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I will have it in time. I can't wait to pick those books up because Robin Hobb, from what I have heard, is like the queen of fantasy. As for what else I'll be reading in December, I'm hoping I'll be able to get 2 more books than these. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm just going to kind of take the month as it comes. I am hoping to finish up the Girl in Fire and Thorns trilogy, which I have been saying for like the past 3 months. Hopefully it will happen this month. We shall see, as well as Crown of Midnight. But that is all I have for you guys today. That was my November wrap-up and December TBR for my first day of Vlogmas. Let me know down in the comments if you guys are excited to see more videos for Vlogmas every day, as well as what you read in November and are hoping to read in December. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, happy reading and happy holidays. Bye!